Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm back today with another video, and today I wanted to talk about the Washington Wizards. Now, the Wizards have been pretty darn bad this year. They're probably the worst team in the league, or not even really probably. They are the worst team in the league. But let's try to find some silver linings and see if there's anything to be excited about on this team going forward. Now, first, I wanted to talk about Deni Avdija. And if you've watched the channel a little bit, you might know that I made a Deni Avdija video before the season started, where I kind of went over what he needed to do to improve and be successful going forward. Now, this is a case where I'm actually kind of happy to report that he's pretty much doing everything I said he needed to be a better player this year. Now, he's definitely not going to make an all-star team or anything like that, but he's doing a lot of nice things on both the offense and the defensive side of the ball. Coming into the year, he was already a good defender, and he's still doing that. He's very versatile on the defensive side of the ball, but he's become a lot bigger threat to score the ball on offense. He's hitting his threes after shooting, under 30% last year from three, and he's putting the ball on the floor a little bit and creating shots for himself, which in turn makes the defense more willing to guard him closely, creating more open looks for his teammates, and then he can find them with the ball. Now, this had been a problem for him in the past because he's always had the skill to put the ball on the floor a little bit and find his teammates, but he was such a non-threat to score that the defense didn't have to commit to him too much, and it rendered his playmaking skills relatively useless. Now, I don't always get into the advanced stats, but I think this is a case where box plus minus can be a really valuable resource to look at Deni Avdija. Basically, what box plus minus is trying to do is say how many points more or less does your team score when you're on the court than the other team. And Deni Avdija is the only player on the Wizards who plays substantial minutes with a positive box plus minus this year. Now, it's not super positive, but it is still positive. And the fact that he's on such a bad team that's been losing a lot, that's a pretty hard thing to do. And I think it shouldn't be something that we should overlook. I think it's something worth taking note of. But anyways, that's enough stroking my ego about Deni Avdija and how he's improved this year, hitting over 50% of his threes. So let's move on to Kyle Kuzma. So Kyle Kuzma, he kind of got off to a rough start from three-point range this season. But other than that, he's been a pretty solid, productive offensive player. He can create for his teammates a little bit. He can get his own shot. But he has been struggling on the defensive side of the ball, just like everybody else on the Wizards, pretty much. I will say things are looking up, though, for his three-point shot. He just had a really good three-point shooting night against the 76ers. I think by the time this video goes up, that'll be 2 days ago. But yeah, Kyle Kuzma's been solid on offense, but not helping their woes on defense. But now let's get to the elephant in the room, and that's Jordan Poole. And I don't know, Jordan Poole can be a tough watch sometimes, honestly, when I'm watching these games. But other times he looks, really exciting out there, just like people thought he would be. But if I had to break it down for you, basically what I saw from those first couple games from Jordan Poole, I didn't like what I saw. It almost looked like he was kind of actively hurting the team's chances to win, because so often he was breaking up the offense just to start dribbling the rock and trying to create for himself. It truly seemed like that he thought an isolation possession for me is the best option that we have right now. So many times he would skip swinging it to the open man or making an extra pass just to try to get an isolation bucket, which often resulted in a bad look or a turnover. However, though, from what I've seen in their last 2 games, he has started to look a little bit better. Now, he's obviously not perfect, but he's moving the ball a little bit more, but he still knows when to be more aggressive, like he always has been. So if he can keep this up, it should improve his efficiency and not disrupt the offense as much as it did before. But obviously that's a big if. He could always kind of revert back to the way he was and start trying to put up isolation buckets. But hopefully going forward, he can try to get his points in the flow of the offense a little bit more, as opposed to trying to do it all himself, but still know when to be aggressive and when the team needs it. Now that we got those 3 guys out of the way, let's kind of look at the other top guys that are worth note. Now, Tyus Jones, he's still been a solid point guard. He's doing his thing out there. And Corey Kispert, I like Corey Kispert, but he's honestly looking really inconsistent out there. And he looks really good when he's on, but when he's not, he's just kind of a guy who's throwing up threes, not hitting them, and not really doing anything on the defensive side of the ball. And then Daniel Gafford. It's honestly kind of hard for me to evaluate Daniel Gafford because to me, I feel like he's a pretty solid defender, but the Wizards are so bad on defense that I'm like, is he really a solid defender? I think Daniel Gafford is a decent defender, but he's definitely not a good enough to defender to make up for how bad the Wizards are on defense. He's not a defense altering kind of guy. And of course they have other players like how to pronounce it, Bilal Coulibaly, who he's a rookie and he's had times where he looked good, especially against the Heat the other day where it was him, a few other players, Rollins, Omari, Gill, and one other guy on the court, where the Wizards were basically losing and it was a done deal. But those 5 guys were like full court pressing and just like playing with a lot of energy and kind of almost got them back in the game. But that was just a small thing, and maybe those guys will earn themselves some more time in the rotation because of that, but we'll just have to wait and see about that. Now, after all that, you might be wondering, this doesn't sound like that bad of a team. Maybe not a great team, but not one that would be 1-5. So what makes them so bad? Well, the short answer to that is their defense and their rebounding. To put it bluntly, they are literally the worst defensive team and the worst rebounding team in the league. They have the lowest defensive rating, they have the lowest rebounding percentage, and the lowest rebounds per game. Where this especially hurts them is on the offensive rebounding side. They are dead last in the league in offensive rebounding, which means they're not getting a lot of second chance points, and they're 25th in defensive rebounds. Couple that with being the worst defense in the league, this basically means that typically if they miss, they're not getting a second chance bucket, and if they happen to get a stop, which is not often, they're one of the worst teams in the league at securing possession of the ball with a defensive rebound, and they're giving up a lot of second chance looks. Now, using all this information, let's think about, are the Wizards doomed this year, or can they kind of turn things around? Is there a lane for the Wizards to be a better team this year? And unfortunately, I don't really see a world where the Wizards aren't one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in the league. As much as I like their offense, and even if it got better, if Jordan Poole kind of plays within himself more, not trying to play hero ball all the time, and Deni Avdija continues doing what he's doing, even if their offense slightly improves, I think they're 16th right now in the league as an offense, even if they improve up to like 14th, 13th, their defense and their inability to rebound is just far too great of a barrier to overcome and be a successful team. Now, that's not to say that there's no players on this team that are worth keeping an eye out on. Deni Avdija has really impressed me this year. I think it'll kind of be interesting to see if they kind of invest in him going into the future, or if maybe he continues to have the success. Maybe they look to move him and try to get something back from him. That could be interesting to see. Jordan Poole definitely has his problems. He's far from a perfect player. And I would be concerned if my team was going to go out and get a guy like Jordan Poole. But there's definitely something there. And if the Wizards can kind of captivate the right word, whatever, kind of put that to use, I think he could be a valuable player for them going forward. Kyle Kuzma, I honestly don't know what to expect with Kyle Kuzma there. It's hard for me to see a world where Kyle Kuzma is the face of the Wizards going forward, but I also don't know what kind of trade market there is for him. So we'll just have to wait and see about that. Corey Kispert is a guy I like, but still, the future of this team is probably not on this team yet. They probably want to look to the draft in the future, get some guys in who they can develop and hopefully build a culture around. Maybe Bilal Coulibaly is a part of that. I hope he is. He seems like a pretty solid player that I'd like to see be successful, but he's also a guy that I honestly at this point still don't really know that much about. But yeah, anyways, leave your thoughts about the Wizards down in the comments below. Do you think they can improve from here on out, or are they just doomed to be the worst team one of the worst teams we've ever seen, pretty much. But yeah, if you watched the video this long, don't forget to leave a like, maybe subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.